Hello, good afternoon. This is David Soto talking to you, and today is my weekly trade predictions for the upcoming trading week of August 5th through August 9th. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all the major currency pairs and kind of give my analysis of what I think is going to happen based on what has happened this past week. Okay, and one thing I want to point out real quick is that this past Friday was non-farm payroll. Okay, and with non-farm payroll, we have all the job reports released by the U.S. government. Okay, and the U.S. dollar had some kind of mixed results, but overall it did see a weakening and did not have had a drop in the number of jobs that were created. Okay, so that means that the U.S. dollar is definitely going to weaken, and we already see that the U.S. dollar is starting to go into a decline. Okay, it's fighting obviously, and the U.S. dollar is still the strongest currency in the world. So even though the U.S. dollar is dropping, we're going to see that uh, it's going to rise up against other currency pairs that are also dropping. Okay, and let me show you exactly what I mean by this. Okay, to start with, we have Euro. I want to point out Euro USD. Okay, it was pretty much running a flat range of motion this past week and at the beginning of the week, and then dropped, and then finally started to come back up. Now, if the U.S. dollar is weakening, that means that this pair should be going up, and really it's not. It's going up a little bit, but not much. If we look at pound USD, it's kind of in a flat range of motion, but this means that both currencies are fighting against one another. They're both kind of at an equilibrium, if you will. But if we look at AUD USD and New Zealand dollar USD, these two pairs have been in a steady drop this past week, and almost the same pattern. Okay, and what this signifies is that both the Australian and New Zealand dollars have also weakened, along with the U.S. dollar that has weakened. But the U.S. dollar is the stronger of the three. So this means that more people are putting money into the U.S. dollar. Okay, so this is actually dropping more than the U.S. dollar is dropping. But now, if we look at the USD Swiss franc, okay, U.S. dollar Swiss franc, we saw that had a kind of a flat range of motion, is stabilized, and then towards about the middle of the week, it just started dropping. Going into the Thursday and Friday, it just started plummeting. Okay, so that signifies that the U.S. dollar is definitely weakening, and we should see a continuation of that. Okay, same thing with USDJPY. It had a flat range of motion and just fell off. Okay, now U.S. dollar Canadian dollar is a little bit different. Okay, both of these saw a weakening, but which of the two is stronger? Okay, typically, not always, but typically the U.S. dollar is going to be stronger than the Canadian dollar. Okay, so people, if both are faltering, both are dropping, more people are going to put their money into the U.S. dollar versus the Canadian dollar. So you can see here, you saw a slight increase of the U.S. dollar, but overall both pairs are weakened. Okay, now going into next week, I want to start Euro USD. I'm going to look at some higher time frames and kind of get an idea of what's going to happen. Okay, so here on the 4-hour chart, we see we have an up arrow, right? We see that this is going into an uptrend, and the daily also. Okay, and the weekly. Okay, no need to really look at the monthly, but the monthly has an up arrow. But if we look at from the H4 up, we see that the arrow is pointing up. Okay, and it's already coming up. So what this signifies is that this is definitely going to a long uptrend. Okay, so if you want to trade long term, which I think would definitely be safe to do so, I would just buy and hold. Okay, I do think that there's going to be a lot of range of motion this week. I don't think there'll be like a sharp shoot up, but it's kind of plateaued at the very moment. But we will see I think this is going to retrace back down starting on Monday, and then we will see this continue up even higher. So overall, we might see like a 1,000-point gain this week for Euro USD. Now going into Pound USD, we should see a similar fashion. If we look at the H4, we see that it's definitely going to an uptrend, right? And the daily as well. Daily is showing up, and the weekly is showing up. So this also signifies that long term, this will be going up. Now I know that last week when I gave my analysis, I said it was going to go up, and it actually dropped. But if we see here that right now Pound USD is sitting at a pretty solid level of support that it has hit before. Okay, so this, this doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to hold 100%. It could drop more, but based on what's happening right now, this present moment, it looks like it's really going to be going up. So I would say that it is a safe bet to buy and hold. But what we can do is, if I go to like a 4-hour chart, I want to look at a downtrend, okay? And what we do is, if I look at the 4-hour chart, if I go from this red arrow here and draw a downtrend line, watch this. We could say that this is our downtrend, okay? We kind of have this point, this point, this point, and these points here touching this line that's going down. Now, if this price breaks that line, then we're going to have a long uptrend. The problem is that this is very far out. Okay, we could also draw a line, another downtrend coming from here like this. Okay, but I'm not really liking that. Okay, if I draw like that where these two are touching, that really doesn't make too much sense. Okay, so if you want, you could say that this is a downtrend, this is the immediate downtrend, and if this breaks, we should see a continuation up until this line. Okay, so based on what's going on right now, I really do see a long uptrend. I would probably wait until about Tuesday or so before I really actually jumped into this and buy, because the Monday is going to be really slow and we don't know exactly what's going to happen at the beginning of the week. So just kind of think long-term buy for Pound USD. Okay, moving into Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar, these pretty much follow the same trend. And if we look here, we're on the 4-hour and daily, we're showing that we want to buy, right? Even the weekly, I believe. Okay, weekly is a little bit different, but the same thing. We're sitting at a pretty solid level of support. It looks like it's getting ready to go up. The thing is, will this keep going down? Okay, the monthly is showing up, so all indicators right now are pointing up. So I would say that this is safe to buy for long term. Okay, but again, we want to find our trend line like this. Okay, and this looks like a pretty solid trend line right here. Wait for this price to break this trend line and then buy for long term. It'll probably break this trend line coming into Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay, if we draw a support right here at this line, now we see what's called a fallen wedge pattern, and this price is probably going to shoot up, touch this trend line, and come back down again, and then eventually break out. That's typically what happens with these wedge patterns. Okay, and the price is going to get trapped inside of here, and then eventually it's going to break out. But even without this support line, it really does not matter. The thing is, we have this trend line, and all we're doing is waiting for this trend line to break and form a new uptrend. Once it breaks and we have a new uptrend, then you're good for a long-term buy. You could probably hold for a couple weeks. All right. So that's my analysis. New Zealand dollar, US dollar is the same exact way. Okay, same exact pattern. Just draw a trend line coming down, wait for it to break, and then buy. Going into US dollar Swiss franc, however, we see that going into the end of the week, this US dollar had dropped off severely. Okay, and if we look at the higher time frames, we see that it's really not done dropping yet. According to the 4-hour, it has not hit any level of support. And if we look at the daily, it is dropping even more. Okay, now we have an up arrow here, but the thing is, it has been ranging, and I don't feel that, you know, this is going to be solid. So what I think is going to happen is that the price is going to drop to probably back down to this level again. If you look at the weekly, all we see is a down arrow on the weekly. Okay, and I could even draw a trend line right here like this. Okay, and say that yes, this is our downtrend right here according to the weekly chart. Now it's been in a pretty much range in motion the last few weeks, probably the last month, so it's definitely fighting up and down. All right, if we zoom in a little bit, we see this right here. Okay, we have this level of support right here and a level of resistance. Even if we look here on the daily, we see that this level of support and this level of support are almost the same. Okay, and let me zoom out a little bit so you can see that. All right, and we have this level of resistance and this level of resistance, kind of an uptrend a little bit, but we do see like a kind of a range in motion here. Okay, kind of a sideways fashion with all these highs and lows. So the US dollar is definitely fighting. What we're looking for long term is for this to be dropping. Okay, and I would definitely not buy until I see a solid uptrend. Right now this week, I feel strongly, because of what's been going on in the market and the news with the US dollar, that this will definitely be dropping. Okay, I don't know how far, but probably down to this level here, where we had this level of support already. So you can expect it to drop, you know, somewhere in here. And this level of support where it hit before right here will be broken. Okay, at least that's my feeling right now. And when we look at USDJPY, okay, this is another one. If we look at some of the higher time frames, it's showing that it wants to go up, right? But the thing is, it has been showing that for the past week, and it still continued to drop. If we look at the daily, it wants to go up, right? But I don't see this level of support. I don't see anywhere else. And if we look at the weekly, it's not showing any up arrow, but it has an up arrow here. Okay, if we draw a line right here, we see that this had touched, you know, this had touched here and here before. Okay, so what that signifies is that this is a very solid level of support. So I'm thinking that this price is going to keep dropping, and it's going to drop and probably touch this level of support again before it does finally go back up. US dollar Japanese yen typically has an adverse effect of what the US dollar Swiss franc does, but not always. Okay, if the USD Swiss franc is dropping, USDJPY is going up, but that all depends on the Japanese yen and what's going on with that market. But the thing is, it does not always follow that pattern. Okay, that's what we got to remember. So I think, even though we have an up arrow right now, that it will continue. You're probably going to see this repaint. Okay, so US dollar Japanese yen, I would say, is going down. Now moving into US dollar Canadian dollar, if we look at some of the higher time frames, we see that it definitely wants to drop. Okay, and it has been going up because, like I said, both currency pairs have weakened, which allowed the US dollar to gain. But overall, the US dollar is definitely weakening. So if we look at the bigger time frames, the monthly, weekly, even the daily kind of, we see that it's getting ready to go into a downtrend. Okay, even though we had this brief spur where it shot back up, if I come in here, that's not really good, but I'm trying to think here where I can find a trend line. It's not going to work either. If I draw a trend line here, it's already broken and coming back up, but it's definitely showing that it wants to come down. So long term, we can expect this to be dropping. If I draw a line here, that's probably not good either, but it's hard to say exactly if it's going to shoot up anymore, because according to the daily, it wants to go up, right? But I don't think it's going to go as high as this trend line. So in the beginning of the week, we probably could expect this to go up a ways, but then it's going to be dropping again. Okay, and right now it's showing that it wants to drop. Okay, you can expect it to probably retrace and come back up more, but the fact that, like on the 4 hour right here, we have a down arrow, so I would expect this to drop in the beginning of the week, maybe retrace and go up even higher. Okay, and form another down arrow, which we see here on the daily. We have an up arrow but no down arrow, right? So this will probably drop Monday and Tuesday, and then retrace and come back up, and then towards the end of the week, by Friday, we'll see another down arrow form on the daily. Okay, and it might even go into like next week sometime before we actually see this down arrow emerge. So in the beginning of the week, I would definitely be trying to sell, and then going on to the end of the week, once you get a strong buy on the 4 hour, then you can buy. Okay, because these two, like I said, these two pairs, these two currencies have weakened, which is allowing the US dollar to gain. So we can definitely take advantage of that. Okay, so anyhow, this is my trade predictions for this week. The US dollar should be dropping overall across most of the pairs, and we should see, like the other pairs, the Euro USD, Pound USD, Australian, New Zealand dollars, we should see these long term be going up. Okay, and long term, we should be seeing the US dollar dropping. Now, of course, the US dollar is a fighter, so we can expect probably more of a range of motion across most of the USD pairs, but at the same time, we're going to see more of a gradual drop as well. Okay, so be looking to sell the US dollar and overall, and be looking to buy like the Euro Pound or British Pound or whatever, and just keep that in the back of your mind, okay, that the US dollar is going to be dropping long term. So Let me know if you have any questions about this. Please feel free to reach out to me. If you have a question about another currency pair, I can give you my analysis on that. I would also like to, discuss this with you, see what your thoughts and ideas are. If you think that, you do not agree with my predictions or you have your own prediction, please let me know what you think. And also, please feel free to post in my Facebook group. If you have not joined my Facebook group, please do so. There is a link below in the description of this video for my private Facebook group. You can join that. You can post any questions or comments in my Facebook group. You can also feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. There's a link for my private personal Facebook, and you can contact me there as well. Okay? So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful trading week ahead, and just let me know if you have any questions at all about how to trade forex, or when to get into a trade and that kind of thing. Okay? I'll be more than happy to help you. But just let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see what I can do for you. Okay? Thank you so much.